Hey everybody, Aaron here. Welcome back to another top 10. Today, we are looking at probably one of the hardest top 10s for me to ever do. Honestly, this was very, very troublesome for me. This is the top 10 samurai anime of all time, to me at least. So, as usual with every top 10 I do, let me give you a little my usual disclaimer. So, I will have an honorable mention in the beginning. I will then have 10 randomly placed. So it's not, even though it says number 10, number 9, it's not going to be per se any one that's higher or stronger than the other one. More so, it is meant to be just a number that just says number 10, number 9, number 8. It has nothing to do with order or stuff like that. So, like, oh, number 1's going to be the best one out of all. No, it has nothing to do with that. I kind of like doing top 10s more so in a free way, because the thing is, I always think about it, a lot of people like to do top 10s in a way that, goes to the best being the last one, or vice versa. I don't like doing stuff like that. I want to change up the game a little bit, so what I decided was just to have what I feel are some of the best ones of the group, of course being the top 10. Now, I'll be honest with you guys and girls, being that the Samurai Anime top 10 was probably one of my hardest ones, I am going to say that a few of these are very, very close to being almost not samurai anime, and I do apologize for that, but I have not seen every samurai anime, and there's actually only like a couple dozen samurai anime that actually exist. Ironically enough, if you go on Mal and look up the genre of samurai anime, there's not that much there, which is really, really weird. There was a lot of stuff in the older days, but I never saw any of the ones like from the black and white area of anime, stuff like that. So I can't really go and say I saw that or anything like that. These are all shows that I've seen, and a lot of them are movies, and a lot of them are very, like I said, very, very close to bridging the gap between the actual samurai stuff and not. But I'll explain that when I get there, so don't worry. Anyways, let's get on with this list. So my first mention is going to be Sakura Wars the movie. Now, Sakura Wars the movie is actually pretty interesting in the sense is that it's a mecha slash samurai slash swordsman type thing. It's got a whole bunch of stuff. It's done by Production IG. It is honestly a cool movie. I liked it a lot when I saw it originally. It has a main character who is, and I don't want to spoil too much of it, but a main character who leads a bunch of girls that are fighting in giant robots essentially. Now, the reason why I consider it a samurai, I put giant air quotes on that, is because there are several characters that are into samurais and into using swords and stuff like that. Even though they use mecha, they still use swords. So I did kind of bridge the gap between those two. Honestly, it was a very cool movie. I liked it a lot. There's a Blu-ray version of this, I believe, out now, so you can actually go see it. It shouldn't be that expensive, I should say. Maybe like $25, $20, maybe at the most. Honestly, definitely worth checking out. It was based off of a long-running franchise of video games that I've played a few of them, and they're actually a lot of fun. So I think it's a great kind of samurai flick if you want something that's a little bit of samurai, a little bit of mecha. Now, next one, which is number 10, is Bleach. Yeah. Okay, again, another very, very one. I swear to you, the next one after this will be the last one that I know for a fact is very close to not being a samurai anime. But Bleach in many ways has a lot of it being cultured around samurais and ninjas and stuff like that. So realistically, it's not that hard to kind of push into the samurai genre. I mean, you have characters with giant swords, you have characters with katanas, you have characters that run around, in a kind of similar samurai fashion. And I mean, I don't really need to explain Bleach. I mean, everyone and their mothers know what Bleach is. The manga just ended actually not uploading this, but me so doing this top 10. The manga series just ended, which was kind of cool. The anime does unfortunately have a cut. It got cut at 300 something episodes, which was essentially near the end of the show, but it wasn't exactly at the end of the show. So you'll have to kind of read the manga if you want to continue on with the show any further than that. But honestly, I like Bleach. I know some people have issues with it. I never had a problem with it per se. It does have a kind of weaker storyline as time goes by, but for what I always got enjoyment out of Bleach, even when it was kind of weaker at moments. I still enjoyed Bleach. I did enjoy the filler. I'll say that right now. I kind of hated the filler, but when it actually was the main story, I enjoyed it a lot. Alright, so number 9 is going to be Gun X Sword, which will be the last one, I swear, that is the furthest from samurai anime. So Gun X Sword has our main character, Vaughn, who's traveling the lands, and it seems like he's running around aimlessly, but more so he's running around because he's looking to kill someone. And what happens essentially is he meets several characters that will kind of guide him along the way to getting his vengeance. But what's kind of cool about Vaughn is he uses this very interesting sword, which reminds me of a. It almost has like no form until he actually puts a little ring around his finger, and when he puts the ring around his finger, the sword becomes an actual form, and that's I always thought it was cool. And then he's able to summon a giant robot that uses either its fist, and he fights various characters that also use samurai swords and stuff like that. I almost think it akin to a steampunk type of thing because you have the samurais and you also have the robots and stuff like that. So it's akin to that. It also reminds me of Trigun in many ways too. So if you like Trigun, you might like this. Honestly, like I said, pushing the boundaries, I know a little bit. I get that, but still, it is an awesome show. I unfortunately will say right now that it's one of those shows that it has some hit or miss moments here, so I'm not going to give it like a best score thing type thing, but it was one of those shows that if you're looking for a good kind of samurai type show and you haven't really seen anything that's not in the list, or you have seen everything in the list of the top 10s, you can't do wrong with this. Alright, number 8 is Sword of the Stranger. Now, Sword of the Stranger is technically a movie, but Sword of the Stranger is one of those really cool anime movies. I mean, honestly, I love the concept of it. It has our main characters where he's a young boy that's traveling the land looking for something. I'm not going to spoil too much of this, but he ends up running into a person that's called No Name, that literally call him No Name, and he is troubled by a kind of haunting past that keeps him from using his sword ever again. But he decides that, maybe he has to exist. Maybe there's something for him to further do. So he ends up following the young boy and his companion, and ends up being his bodyguard in many ways. Now, what's cool about the show is that it does a lot of things that are both mature and visceral. Now, I'll tell you guys right now, again, this is a kind of, I want to say, R-rated type movie. It's done by Bones. But there are a lot of cool stuff about it. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of drama. And I like just the kind of characters and the kind of plot because it reminds me of old samurai flicks. So definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. It's not that long. I believe it's only like an hour and a half, maybe, not even. So it's not too long. You'll enjoy it. Go check it out. Sword of the Stranger. Alright, number 8. Sengoku Basara. Now, I know a lot of people might be, if you've seen my older reviews, you've seen me that I've reviewed Sengoku Basara way back when, and I have mixed feelings about Sengoku Basara. I always said that it has moments where it's really, really good, and then moments that it's like, meh, really meh. But the thing is overall, you cannot persuade otherwise that this is a good show for the fact that it's dealing with both a historical context and it's kind of taking its own spin on that historical context. I mean, all the characters, like you have Masamune Dante, you have, oh crap, I can't think of the guy, the twin swords, Yukihara. You have Yukihara, Sanada, I believe his name is. You have all these kind of huge, big name characters, and they are kind of represented in a kind of, I want to say, interesting manner where some characters are almost caricatures of their historical originals, which is really cool. I love the action of Sengoku Basara, and I love the animation. It's a really, really good show in those senses. Like I said, the story hits some high notes and then some low notes, and depending on where you are in, I want to say, playing the games, if you ever play the games for Sengoku Basara, that will be how your kind of your enjoyment of this will vary. If you played a lot of the games, you might dislike this, to be honest with you. If you've never played any of the games, you might enjoy more. I have played both of the games that have come to America about Sengoku Basara, and it kind of makes it where watching the anime was a little harder because there's a lot of stuff that they kind of mess up with, and it just ruins some characters here and there. So that's why I have issues with it. But definitely, if you've never played the games, definitely go check out Sengoku Basara. You'll enjoy it. Even if you have played it, I'd say check it out just for the action. I mean, it's got some great action and animation. It's really nice. All right, number 7 is, ironically, and maybe not ironically, actually, now that I think about it, Samurai 7. Now, Samurai 7 is actually an older film that was produced by Akira Kurosawa. Now, what Akira Kurosawa did that was crazy for back then is he actually used several camera shots, and at the same time, those cameras were all set up in different areas. Now, you might say, well, that's what's so crazy about that. Back when this movie came out originally, that was the first time that anyone used more than one camera to film anything. So that was something that was astronomical in the change of kind of filmmaking, which is really cool. Now, Samurai 7 follows a completely different story in many ways than the movie it's based off of, but it has the main context where a small village is being berated by several dozen people and other groups and warring factions. And so one young girl decides, I need some means of protecting this village. So she seeks out several samurai who are known to be super powerful and super strong, and they end up getting paid by her to protect the village. Now, they all come from different backgrounds, they all have different reasons for existing and different reasons for even joining her in our escapade. But what's kind of cool about the show is that I love the animation, I love the storytelling. There are some really boring moments, to be honest with you guys and girls. But if you get past those moments, what you get is a really interesting story, a very interesting take on an old classic film, and overall a fun kind of just thing to watch. And I mean, honestly, I love the animation. It came out on Blu-ray recently. I want to buy the Blu-ray. I only own the limited edition of DVDs from way back when, which came with all these art books and stuff like that. It was really cool. But I do want to get it on Blu-ray because I've heard it really looks phenomenal on Blu-ray. But definitely go check this out. All right, number 6 will be Ronin Warriors. Now, Ronin Warriors, if you're looking for your classic anime fix right here, this is no better than this. Ronin Warriors almost reminds me of the Sailor Moon generation of anime because it had a very similar styling. That we had several characters, they were all high school boys who end up being able to kind of take in powers that were from samurais down in the past, and were able to use them and fuse them into armor and became kind of defenders of Earth. They fought various creatures and various other I want to say samurai from the past that were bad. And the show is not to be taken too seriously. I mean, again, it's a really old show akin to, again, Sailor Moon. But for what you get, it's a really cool show. I mean, even though it's old as crap, I mean, I would think I was like 10 years old, maybe younger when this was even getting popular in the West. It's one of those shows that you could watch and enjoy it. I would recommend highly checking to see if you can find the subtitle version of this, because the dub is very, very, very old. Again, it reminds me of something like Voltron, where a lot of the characters will scream out for no reason, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, what are we going to do? Ah!" You know, that old screaming stuff. So definitely look for the dub, because not the dub, excuse me, the sub, because the sub was a lot better in many ways because it was more serious tone and stuff like that. All right, number 5, we are going to look at Ninja Scroll. Now, Ninja Scroll needs also very little introduction. This is a messed up, very mature, very visceral, dark anime movie. This came out in 1993, and honestly, it was done by Madhouse. I mean, of course, Madhouse, you know what to expect from them in terms of violence and profanity and nudity and stuff like that, and sexual content. This had it all. This had a lot of famous scenes that were, well, more so infamous scenes. Like, for example, there was a rape scene that a lot of people know about in the very beginning of the movie and stuff like that. The reason why I like Ninja Scroll, though, is as an adult, you will appreciate how great this movie is. It's very, very dark. It's got characters fighting demons. It's got characters that are fighting against the forces of darkness in general. And it's very, very visceral. And I love visceral stuff because I think it's something that, to push the boundaries of anime and also push the boundaries of what is essentially mature rated stuff, is always kind of cool to watch in anime. Definitely check out Ninja Scroll if you have not. Again, it is a very, very R-rated show. I'll tell you that right now, actually a movie in this case. So definitely make sure you're of age and you can understand this. I'll tell you that right now. Alright, number 3 will be Samurai Champloo. Now, Samurai Champloo did many things correct, I think, in many ways. I wish this series would have ended better, but Samurai Champloo does something awesome where it fuses old style stuff where you have, you know, the samurais and you have stuff like that, but you also have hip-hop and musical integers and stuff like that. So you have characters that are dancing essentially when they fight, which is really cool. I mean, Mugen, Jin, you know, Fu, these are all characters that are really synonymous in the world of anime because they are cool characters. Now, the story is, of course, Fu is looking for the man who smells of sunflowers, and she ends up hiring 2 guys who become her bodyguard, essentially, to help her go find this guy. Along the way, they kind of deal with various comedic stuff that is meant to not be taken 200% seriously, but there's a lot of cool stuff here. There's a lot of visceral action and stuff like that, and I just love the music. I mean, Samurai Champloo has some great hip-hop tones if you like hip-hop. Definitely check out Samurai Champloo. It's made by the guy who makes, of course, Cowboy Bebop. You can't do wrong with that. What's he? Watanabe. Definitely check it out. Number 2 is one of my personal favorites. This is Samurai Deeper Kyo. Now, Samurai Deeper Kyo is a very, very cool thing. If many of you know, my original avatar that was done on my channel was actually of Samurai Deeper Kyo, and my one that I'm using right now is a chibi version of Samurai Deeper Kyo, so I'm still rocking that. Now, Samurai Deeper Kyo follows Kiyoshiro, who he is living with a very interesting thing. He's a traveling, I want to say, medic of many ways. I'm going to keep it at that. And he ends up running into a bounty hunter who mistaken him for a guy named the Red-Eyed Samurai Kyo. Now, the thing about Kiyoshiro, though, is that he does harbor Kyo in inside of him, in the sense that when he pulls out his sword and activates his sword when he's in threat and danger, he will become Kyo and is able to fight in this whole different visceral level and stuff like that. His eyes become blood red and he embodies what essentially Kyo was way back when. Now, as the story picks up as time goes by, it gets really cool because you start seeing that Kiyoshiro isn't always perfect, and even though he acts like he's a really goofy character at the beginning, we find that he might not always be like that in real, the real regards of things. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't checked out Samurai Deeper Kyo. I would say if you are a huge fan of manga, check the manga out better, because the manga is a lot better than the anime is. But if you want to see the anime, it's not bad by any means. I like the anime a lot. I just think the ending was, a very interesting take on what the ending of the manga is, but I wish it would have ended slightly different. I'll say that right now. The manga is a lot better, but the anime is awesome nonetheless. Now, number one is probably the only one on this list that I would consider, okay, realistically number one of the whole list, Rurouni Kenshin. Like, I was not going to do a top 10 samurai thing without Rurouni Kenshin. Rurouni Kenshin is known worldwide. It is known to be one of the best, if not the top tier shonen stuff from way back when. You have our main character, Rurouni. You have, Rurouni. I said his name was Rurouni. I meant to say Kenshin, Jesus. You have our main character, Kenshin, who essentially is trying to get away from the life of samurai. He used to be a killer in many ways, and he is going about trying to stay away from that, but various things will start pulling him back into that world, and as he deals with that, he meets a whole slew of characters that are very interesting and very unique. I love Rurouni Kenshin, I really do. It was one of those shows that I grew up with way back when. I haven't seen it, I'll be honest with you, I have not seen Rurouni Kenshin in probably maybe like 10 years. I want to say, but I read the manga not that long ago again, just for the hell of it, because I did own a few of the volumes of the manga when I was younger. I honestly love Rurouni Kenshin. It is one. If out of all these and you've never seen Rurouni Kenshin, I would say, what are you doing? You gotta go watch Rurouni Kenshin. It is a classic for a reason. Anyways, guys and girls, I hope you enjoyed this top 10 samurai anime. As always, put in the comments below any other any other top 10 things you want me to do. I just made that like blah 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 noise, and that was usually, I'll tell you this, guys, right now, I usually cut that from all these, but I'll keep it in here because, hey, listen, top 10s are hard to do. As always, guys, I will talk to you later. Bye bye.